Hi everyone, we'll get started in a minute now. I hope you are looking forward to this session. This is very close to my heart and I hope you all enjoy it. We will get started in a minute. Let me just quickly remind everyone to join. Let me hide it and we'll be good to go. Okay, let's get started. Let me quickly see what all things do I have here. And okay, we are good to go. Welcome everyone to our session about project management methodologies. And I am your host for today. My name is Utkarsh Tiwari, but I prefer to go by UT. My pronouns are he, him. And what are we going to look forward in this session? Let me just quickly tell you in a way. This is going to be a fairly short session, so no need to get overwhelmed about so many things. It's going to be fairly short session, but at the same time I really want to make it more interesting. I really want to make it uh, more accommodating to everyone who is new to this field, and so that no one feels lost, like what are we talking about, what is this project management thing that is talking about. So that is why I'm going to take it a bit slow. There are parts of it which you may find very repetitive. There are parts of it which you may think like, oh, this is so basic. But I really want to make sure that everyone learns and understands about this, because this is something which is really, really, really important. So without any further ado, let's get started. So, what is the objective of this session? By now, as per me, by the end of this session, you will know and understand more about what is project management and why we need it. Next, you'll also know more about different types of project management strategies, how to manage a project. Next, you will have a better understanding about the agile technique and some real world use cases, where it is used, how it is used, and how you can finally employ this agile method, this agile mindset in your project, and maybe ace that job. We'll come to that job part very soon. And now, with respect to my slides, I have tried to add a few comics here and there. Most of them come from XKCD. If you don't know what XKCD is, I would highly recommend it. I let me also put it in chat actually. They have some very good comics. I just love it. So yeah, we'll get started. Let's move ahead. Now, the first question that might come to your mind: what is project management? Huh? Now, imagine this scenario. Project is the way things get done. Even in Global Hack Week, you are building a project, you're building uh, maybe a portfolio website, you're building, let's say, an app to track uh, your health. Anything that you're building, everything is a project. Okay. And in a project, tasks are how things get done. You would not randomly just keep on coding or keep on building without actually thinking, what am I supposed to build? What am I supposed to, you know, have an end product of? You would definitely want to have that in mind, which basically means you would divide your work into different tasks. You will divide them into simple tasks, manageable tasks. You try to achieve them, give them a timeline, like, okay, I need to build this nav bar on this website, I need to build this footer on this website, mostly it will take 30 minutes. So those are two tasks. Okay, that is how you actually divide your work. So tasks are the way how things get done for any particular project, which basically means that everywhere in the world you are going to find these tasks. Organizations rely on them, companies rely on them to meet their short term goal and long term goal, their long term objectives. Okay, so that is basically project management. You have tasks, now you need to get those tasks done. Project management, simple. So the process of, now this is a very highly technical definition which comes from Wikipedia. The process of planning, organizing, and managing a task in order to reach a predefined goal. This is very important. Okay, predefined goal or the outcome is known as project management. So simple, like, so simple that you start feeling silly, like, huh, okay, that is something that I do in day to day life. We have to do, we do that. Okay, and yeah, that is basically a way of project management. Now, what is the difference between management and project management? Remember the word that I used, a predefined goal? That is basically the difference between management and project management. To think about it, in a company, you have managers and they kind of manage you. They help you achieve your short term goals, they help you achieve your long term goals. But these goals keep on changing with time, and this is an ongoing activity. They can help you with your day to day things, they can help you with your yearly things, monthly things. So many options are there. So that is a ongoing activity. It just keeps on happening and happening and happening, and things change as situations change. Like, let's say when COVID hit, there was a change in the way people were managed. Okay, we had the whole work from home thing coming in. That is an ongoing process, it changes with respect to time, it changes with respect to scenarios. But for project management, you have a predefined goal. Like in your GHW, your predefined goal is to complete this project and showcase it. That is the difference between management and project management. Now, okay, if you have project management, you have management. What is the difference between project managers and program managers? Look, yeah, I'm using a new word here. So let's come back to it. So project management is attaining a predefined goal. Management is an activity just which just keeps on happening and happening and happening. It is an ongoing activity. But to manage, to help you with these two things, there are two different people, different sets of people who help you with these different things. So a project manager is going to make sure that they help you reach that predefined goal. Okay, these are the people who are going to make sure that a project gets completed, or there's like at least 80% completion to it, 90% completion to it. They are the people who are going to define the tasks for it. That is project management, those are project managers. So right now in your hackathon, kind of you all are project managers. And then we have program managers. Okay, now I'm going to take a very quick example here. I'm sure you must all be knowing about fellowship program that MLH offers, or even in this, the whole of MLH as an organization, we have program managers. These are the people who are helping run these programs, this GHW as a program, fellowship as a program, so many things as a program. So those are program managers. They set the vision of things, they set the big picture overview of things, and those are the differences. Now, moving ahead, sometimes before I move into this, let me just give a quick disclaimer. These roles sometimes overlap. Like for you now, your roles will overlap. You are also a program manager for your particular project. You're also the project manager for your particular project. You are defining the task, you're also setting up the big picture goal. Like, okay, in weeks time, I want to make sure that this, at least this much is my final outcome. At least like 70% of it should be completed, at least 90% of it should be completed. We can not have authentication implemented, that is okay, but we want to make sure that there is a table to manage different kinds of data. Okay, so I hope you are trying to understand this. Like, you, sometimes these roles overlap, and that is fine, that's completely fine, definitely. Okay, now I'm going to take a quick pause here, come back, and see if you have any questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in chat right now. I'll wait for a minute here. Okay, seems like I'm going really good. Okie dokie. Let's move ahead. Now, we talked about project management. We talked about why we need to manage a project. We talked about so many things actually. Project managers, program managers. Now, let's come to the actual part of this stream, the different methods of how would you manage a project. Now, these words may be familiar to you, but I would still go over them. So, the first technique to manage a project is waterfall. Yeah, literally a waterfall. Okay, think about it from a waterfall perspective. Think about a waterfall. Okay, and I don't know, some very good exotic place that you want to visit, and that is actually the way the project is managed. Okay, progress is always in one direction, it comes from top to bottom like a real waterfall. And just like a real waterfall, this can get quickly really dangerous. Let's talk about it. So, the idea of waterfall technique, or you can also call it as a step ladder technique, is one step at a time, which basically means that you complete one task and then move on to next task. Sounds fine, right? Like that's how things should be. Once you complete one part, you move on to the next part. Yes, it is fairly, very simple, very easy to understand, very easy to implement till a time being, and then that's where things can start getting wrong, which is something we'll come to it. So the sequence is, you first do a requirement analysis. You first define your requirement. Taking your hackathon example again, and I'll take it more times, you first define what you're going to build. Then the next part of it would be to design. Okay, how it should look. Now, a design does not mean to have a very proper wireframe right now, at least from the hackathon perspective. But in a real big project, you would actually design it. You will have a low fidelity design, you will have a high fidelity design. You will use tools like balsamic or figma, okay, to design. You will have some brainstorming sessions for which you could use FigJam. So these are the design. So first you analyze, you gather requirements. What is supposed to be built? What is the actual goal of this project? What is something that you're trying to achieve? So you don't start with, I want to build an app. You start with, I want a system where I can, let's say, uh, manage my employees. I want an employee management system. Okay, so you want an employee management system. Where is it going to run? Is it going to run as a separate app altogether? Is it going to run on a website? Do you want a web version? Do you want an app version? Do you want a web app version? Okay, so these are the end goals that are first defined. Then you define, okay, we are going to build a website. Now during for the website building, what are we going to use? Are we going to use a particular framework? We want to use, let's say, React. Okay, we'll use React. Do you have a preference for backend? Oh yeah, I want to use, let's say, Spring Boot. Okay, Java Spring Boot as the backend, or the Node.js as backend. You define all those things in your requirement analysis. Once your requirement is done, then you move on to the next phase, that is designing. And then you move on to the next phase, that is implementation, the coding. Okay, that is where all of us hackers come in. Sometimes some hackers are designers, some hackers are very good at requirement analysis. They actually understand that maybe the end goal can be better achieved by building an app as opposed to building a website. Okay, so now you start with the implementation part. You do the coding part of it, you write the whole system. Maybe like 90% or 95% of it, you have a end goal in mind, which your project manager will give you. Like, we want to make sure that at least 90% of these boxes from requirement analysis get checked. Okay, once your implementation is done, then you move to the testing phase of it. Now we'll test the system. If when you start testing the system, bugs may crop up. Okay, so you need to make sure that there are very less bugs at while you're implementing it. But well, those are bugs, they just come from anywhere. So you need to thoroughly test your system, and then maybe re-go towards the implementation. And finally, once you're happy with your testing, you go on to the deployment phase, where you make your website or app live to maybe the whole world, or maybe to specific parts of the company, specific people in the company. And then you move towards the maintenance phase of the app or the website or whatever you're building, one step at a time. Now, the problems with this idea, this methodology, is all effort will go down the drain, will be in vain if requirements are not clearly specified. Okay, which basically means that everything about the requirement, everything about the project was done at phase 1, and you cannot just go back and change the requirements once you have completed, let's say, design, and you are in implementation, and then you suddenly realize, oh, we need to also add a admin role. Nope, you have to decide it at the first place itself. That is the whole idea of waterfall: complete one step, then move to next step. So you cannot go back, which basically means if at any time you think that, oh, I forgot to add this requirement, you have to start from scratch again, you have to start from beginning again. Which, what I'm trying to say here is that there will be lots and lots of room for error if the requirements are not clearly specified. And yeah, all your effort will go in vain. Secondly, if and it is inevitable that your project may undergo changes, until and unless it's something which is like really small and really specific, your project will undergo change. Okay, so using waterfall for that, not a very good idea. Think about it in this way: you can come down the waterfall. It may be scary, but it's still pretty easy, as opposed to you trying to climb up the waterfall. So those are the issues with waterfall methodology. Now I'll quickly pause again, come to the question section, and see if there is any question. If anyone has any question, please feel free to ask right now about waterfall. Okay, Seems like everyone is understanding all about waterfall, which is great for me, definitely. Okay, pausing for another 10 seconds. Let's see. No questions, no questions. Okay, nice. Okay, so again, a very good comic about waterfall. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I'll keep quiet and let you read this. Yes, this is the problem with waterfall. You will not get the ladder down. Okay, so moving ahead. So there is a video here. Okay, I'll post this link in the chat. It's not really related to waterfall, but it is related to how things can change. Oh, someone has already asked for it. Okay, yeah, I am posting it. Thank you so much. So the in this video, it's actually about you know how things change down the line. So it's more or less about Chinese whispers, if you know, and but can be applied to waterfall. Things may change down the road, things may change down the line. You may start with something else, you may end with something else if your requirements are not clearly specified along. So I am sending the video link and it's there in the chat. Again, as I'm saying, it's not really specific, it's not about waterfall, it's more about Chinese whispers. But the idea behind the video is you need things may change if you are not clearly defining your requirements. I think the title of the video is how rumors spread, but again the idea is same, how things can change if you're not clearly defining your requirements. Moving on. So you saw waterfall, you saw the problems with waterfall. You cannot go back, you will always forget the ladder, you don't have the ladder to be there at the first place. So, what can we have which has a ladder, which allows us to go back? And that is Agile. Now, Agile is more or less a set of rules. Okay, it's a way or it's a guide of how you should manage your project. There is a whole manifesto of Agile. It's called as Agile Manifesto. Yeah, I'm sure everyone guessed it, but it's called as Agile Manifesto. And some great minds came together and they wrote this manifesto, and they were like, this should be the way how you are going to manage a project. So I am pasting the link in the chat. It's called as agilemanifesto.org. If you go to the like on the home page, if you scroll down a bit, you are going to see, let me see if I can share this tab. Yep, there you go. So if you scroll down this tab, on this page, sorry, you are going to find many translations of it, and you're also going to find the signatories who all came together and decided that this is how things should go. There are few names which you might find interesting and very known: Martin Fowler, Robert C. Martin, Clean Code, if you have read that book, and many others actually. uh, but yeah, these are the people who came in and they decided that there are better ways of developing a software. And the most important part of it is we need to focus on these four things: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change, the most important part which sets it apart from waterfall, over following a plan. Okay, now let's come back. Let me come back to my slides, and let's talk about agile. Okay, so number one, coming back, like the way we did in waterfall, how are the steps decided? So number one, you need to understand in agile, it's short work stages with frequent testing, frequent review, and frequent adaptation, sorry. Secondly, you are going to analyze, build, test, bug bash, release, backlog, and repeat. Okay, analyze, build, test, bug bash, release, backlog, repeat. Okay, less documentation since requirements can change at any point, but we'll talk more about this less documentation phase of it. And finally, check out the Agile Manifesto. The link I've already pasted in chat. Do check it out. Now, let's talk in detail about this. People got frustrated with waterfall, and they decided that requirements change. It's inevitable. It's like it's definitely going to happen, to be frank. And that is why we need to define parts or sections of the requirement, build according to that, test the software, then whatever bugs that come while testing, let's resolve it. We'll release it, we'll give it to customer for testing, hear their feedback. Okay, make some changes. If it's like, if customer comes back and says that, okay, I found a bug, you again do the bug bash part of it. You bash the bugs, you basically fix the bugs. And you then have a backlog, like you decide, like, I'm going to complete 5 parts of this work. You were able to complete 3 parts of that work, 2 of them go in backlog. Now in the next session or this repeat section, you take those 2 and define new 5. Now you have 7. You try to complete 7, you'll again be left with something. And yeah, this the cycle goes on. Now, Agile Manifesto, if you remember, there was a line on the Agile Manifesto which said that working software over comprehensive documentation, which basically says that, we want to make sure that the software is more or less in a working condition rather than we spending all of our life writing documentation. But there are uh, people who would disagree, I being one of them. And this is open to discussion in a way. Okay, so, and why, the reason why agile suggests it is because we want to make sure that we are not documenting things and then deleting everything and rewriting, because requirements can change at any point. That's the whole idea of agile. Requirements change, you start again. Now, the issues with agile is that deadlines need to be really flexible. Why? Because remember the backlog part of it. So the backlog portion says that you will have more tasks coming in. So you cannot really define the deadlines like, okay, I need to have this software ready by end of this week. No, not possible, because requirements may change. Secondly, you need to be less uh, strict with budget. Okay, if you're strict with budget, or if you have less budget, then you cannot practice agile. What I mean here is that since deadlines is flexible, which also means that people are going to spend more time. If people are spending more time, they are going to take more salary. If they're going to take more salary, you cannot have a very strict budget. You need to be flexible with that. So that these are the main problems with agile. But where it is helpful is, number one, it's collaborative. Okay, it allows people to collaborate with customers. Who is your customer at multiple points in time? It is open to data driven change. Okay, think about it from the perspective that if a customer tells, like, okay, initially we had this particular requirement in mind, but now that we have seen its implementation, we don't really want it, or we want to change it in xyz manner, you will change it. Okay, that is the whole idea. It is open to data driven change, and it is quick. Okay, in a way it is quick because you don't really have to restart. Like in Waterfall, like you reach like the bottommost step, and then you decide, okay, this is not what the customer wanted, or if the customer says that, okay, this is not what I wanted, you don't really have to restart. The customer would know at every point in time. So it is quick, but it needs the deadlines to be a bit flexible. Okay, now Agile is an idea, and the processes built with Agile are something that we are going to talk about next. Okay, the processes or the frame sub frameworks or the extensions of Agile, as I write it here, are something like Scrum, Kanban, Lean, and we are going to talk about it. But just to reiterate, all of them have these three things in common. They are open to data driven change, they are comparatively quick, and they, focus on collaboration. They try to instill this thought that you need to collaborate more with fellow developers, with your managers, with your customers who you are building the software for. Okay, now moving ahead, let's talk about the first extension of Agile, that is Scrum. So Scrum, this is one way, this hackathon is one kind of Scrum idea. So in Scrum, you divide the tasks into sprints, and each sprint is 2 weeks long, 3 weeks long. There are companies who use a 1 week long sprint, but I think that's too cramped. You cannot do all of that in 1 week. You need at least 2 to 3 weeks. And in Scrum, and in these Scrum, in this Scrum methodology, in these sprints, you also have something called as stand-ups and retrospective. So stand-ups are your daily things. These are your daily meetings. Okay, 15 minute to maximum of 30 minutes, where you everyone gathers, and they talk about what they are planning to do today, what they did yesterday, what are their goals for today, and any blockers that they're facing. Like let's say me coming in to Scrum, in the stand up, sorry, me coming into a stand up, I would say like, okay, yesterday I was preparing for the stream, today my task is to deliver the stream. And for me, the blocker is that this is my first stream, so I'm a bit nervous and I don't really know my way around XYZ things. So I may need help and I'm going to ping you. Okay, or something that was blocking me previously, or there can be days where you have no blockers, definitely. And then you also have these retrospective, which happens at the end of a sprint. Okay, so end of the second week or in the end of third week, you retrospect, you introspect, and you go like, okay, what things did went well, I completed XYZ. Okay, what things did not go well, I did not know how to use React Router DOM, I did not know how to use RTK query, so I had to spend more time learning on that. What would you do better in the next sprint? I am going to first make sure that I know more about RTK query before I jump in and start implementing it. So you introspect, you retrospect about it. In every sprint, you have, remember those backlogs we were talking about? Yeah, you have those backlogs and your new features that are going to happen. So that happens in the requirements analysis phase. And now this Scrum method, it's like really excellent, and it allows people to get engaged, keep, and make sure that they are engaged every day in a global team. Okay, if you are in office, this may sound very simple, but think about it from a global perspective. People are in India, people are in London, people are in New York. Okay, and it's a global team, people are in Canada, and you decide a particular time where everyone can come and give their updates, help each other, talk to each other, and strive for constant growth. Now, in the second point, I missed a word, or I did not deliberately talk about it actually. That is Scrum Master. So these stand-ups and retrospectives, these are led by someone called as Scrum Master. Now, Scrum Master, it's a role, and you could actually get certified for this role. Uh, you can find more details about it on this link. I am going to paste it in the chat. So this is a link by Coursera, which lists down some Scrum Master certifications that you could do. A screenshot of it is on the right hand side of my PPT. uh, a Scrum Master certification allows you to, number one, secure a very good job. Definitely, it allows you to understand more in depth of the things that I was talking about. It allows you to be confident in leading a stand up, in leading a retrospective, because many a times it will happen that people stray away from what they were talking about. So you are the person, a Scrum Master is the person who brings them back to the topic in focus. A Scrum Master makes sure that things happen fairly quickly. Everyone gets a minute to speak or 1.5 minute to speak, and we are wrapped up by the end of 15 minutes or 30 minutes. A Scrum Master also helps people who are blocked. So I have a blocker. I don't, let's say, know how to use the streaming platform. Okay, I don't know how to use Twitch. A Scrum Master is going to either point me to the right people. So a Scrum Master will first help me. Okay, come and help me, or the Scrum Master will point me to the right people who can help me with this. So yeah, with respect to certification, I think that is one good way to learn more about this role. Now, moving on to the next part of it, another extension of agile methodology is Kanban. Kanban, Kanban. I don't know. There are many pronunciations for it. Whatever suits you the best. So I would say Kanban. Okay, I'll go with Kanban. And the Kanban process was initially designed for the manufacturing industry, but now it can be used anywhere. Not now, actually, it could have been used anywhere. It is used everywhere, and it is very simple. Very simple. Number one, you have a list of to do. Secondly, you have a list of what you're currently doing, which comes from to do, of course. Then you have a list of things that you have done from your to do list. And then you also have a list of things which go in your backlog from your to do list. So in your to do list, you define like 10 tasks. You start working on one task, complete it, it goes to done. And you now you have defined a sprint of 2 weeks. You take one task again from to do, goes into doing, then done and done and done and done. And finally, 2 weeks end, you retrospect and you check your to do section. Out of the 10 tasks, 8 have been completed, 2 are pending, they go into backlog. Okay, and then it would form the to do for the next sprint. Very simple. Okay, good idea about Kanban is that it gives a visual representation of what everyone is doing, where everyone is, and if there is any bottleneck. Like, being a bottleneck, what it could be like, there are 20 tasks in being doing, and that has been in that list of doing for about 1.5 week. That means everyone is doing, nothing has been completed. There is a scope of improvement. There is a problem somewhere which you need to rectify. And something that can give you a very good idea of this Kanban is a Kanban board. Yeah, there is a Kanban board. uh, I don't know, mostly you could think about it for as a Trello board. Yeah, that could be a very good example. Think about a Trello board. I am pasting a link to an image which gives you a visual representation of these things that I was talking about, these Kanban boards. It has requested, in progress, and done in the image, but requested can be your to do, your in progress can be your doing, and then you have the done. Okay, and Trello is a very good example of a Kanban board. where you can have multiple columns. Each column you can define what it has, and you can move your cards from one column to other. Secondly, this also encourages this system of having a work in progress. Like, you would know that okay, something is in progress. And it also encourages pull system. You are uh, encouraged to take your own tasks, work on your own tasks, be your own manager for that particular task. And this is good. The only problem is that you should not use Kanban if there are multiple levels, which basically what I'm trying to say here is if you have a manager, okay, and for a particular, if, sorry, let me have some water, please. Okay, I'm good again. Sorry for that. So, if for every task you need to go through a array of people to get uh, approvals, do not use Kanban, because then all your tasks would be either in doing, or all your tasks will either be in backlog. Okay, so for implementing each and every stage of your project, if you have to get like 10 approvals, Kanban is a bad idea to visualize your task, because a project manager will always see, I have 10 to dos and 10 of them are in doing and nothing is going in done section. Okay, now there are, just like in Scrum certification there are Kanban certification, but there are more of Scrum plus Kanban certification, can be called as Scrum ban. Okay, so these again are certifications which allow you to understand the idea behind Kanban, implement this Kanban. And mostly people use this mixture of Scrum plus Kanban. So Kanban can be your board of keeping a track of tasks, and Scrum can be the way you execute those tasks. You have those stand-ups, you have those retrospectives. Okay, and I already told you that Trello board can be one good example. There can also be these, there are also GitHub boards. So on GitHub you now have a project management feature which allows you to define your tasks, your issues as a board, and then move them across the lane from to do to doing to done. Yeah, you get the idea. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second. I'll go to the chat. If anyone has any question about these two things that we talked about, Scrum and Kanban, please feel free to ask now. Okay, seems like everyone is loving it, which basically means I'm loving it, that you all are understanding. But please, please do let me know at any point that, okay, I'm not understanding this concept. Why are we having this? Why are we having Kanban boards? Just let me know. We'll talk about it. Let me quickly highlight again the links. So the first link that I shared initially was about actually Chinese whispers, but can be used for to visualize the idea of waterfall, that you need to have specific requirements, or if things change down the line, you are going to be in mess. The second link that I shared in chat was about Agile Manifesto. So Agile Manifesto, it's a document which lists what are the ways that you can be agile, okay, with regards to your project, how to manage your project. Then I shared a link about Scrum Master certifications. What are these? What is Scrum? Scrum is a part of Agile, and there are Scrum Master certifications which helps you understand more about this role helps you have very good and informative retrospectives and stand-ups, and there are multiples of that. And also Scrum Master certification can help you get a very good paying job. And right now I had shared a link, sorry, a very big link, but it's in chat. It's basically about how a Kanban board looks like. You can think of Trello board, you can think of GitHub board, and there's this link which you can open and check. Oh, these are the columns and these are the cards that I was talking about, courtesy of Google. Okay, now since there are no more questions, we will move ahead. So, another extension of Agile is extreme programming. Now, extreme programming, the idea behind extreme programming is the word itself. You program at your extreme pace. You focus on your tasks and you use the methods that previously worked for a particular task. Uh, think about it like in a company, there is a method to build a login system. Okay, and you want to try something new, but the idea of extreme programming is if you can follow that, okay, because that approach has worked, it has worked successfully, use that in your project. Okay, that is the idea. And in extreme programming there are some important things. One is pair programming. You divvy up with people. Okay, you can be the driver, and one person can be the writer or the coder. Okay, so let's say me, UT, and there is X. Okay, so X person and UT, we are coding together. X is the driver, and UT, like me, I am writing the code. So I've the person is going to kind of dictate, like, but not exactly say, okay, function starts with FUNC. No, they'll say like, okay, we need to have a function which takes in two numbers and then prints out this the sum of those two numbers. So I will start writing, and then the driver will be like, okay, we also need to consider the scenarios that the person entering the numbers enters exactly a number. If they enter, let's say, A, and they enter B instead of 1 and 2, we don't want to add A plus B and give A plus B or AB. No, we want to make sure that they enter numbers. So let's write that case. Like if it's a number, then we go ahead, else just return a message, a error message or an alert, like please enter two numbers, not two alphabets. Make sure that people are not entering characters, as in special characters or something. So the driver is going to drive this whole conversation, and the writer is going to write. And then there will be discussions like, okay, maybe this should I add the case first and then the actual code, or should I add the actual code first and then handle the error cases down below. So yeah, you that's how you collaborate. Okay, you follow the TDD, test driven development. Now, test driven development actually means you write the test part of it first before you actually write the code part of it. Okay, again, coming back to my example, we have to write a function which takes in two numbers and returns the sum of two numbers. We will first write the test cases of when people actually given two numbers, what is it going to return. We'll write test case for integers or our whole numbers. We'll write cases for floats or the fractions or the decimal numbers. We'll write test cases for when it's not an integer, when it's a special character, someone enters exclamation and a hash. When someone enters characters or alphabets, okay, we'll write test cases. We'll first write all the possible test cases and see what should be the output for it, and then we actually write the code part of it. That is the idea behind TDD. And now, oops, yeah, Sorry. Now the in TDD, at first it may sound very different. Like, don't we actually write the code and then we'll test the code? And it is very difficult concept to wrap your head around, but it is very helpful. Okay. And next we have Yagni. So Yagni stands for you ain't gonna need it. And the idea is fairly simple. Again, don't build things or don't write things which you may think might be helpful in future. You may think might be helpful in future. Okay, so we will not write a function which takes in two strings and returns uh, the string being added. Like, a and b will not write a function which will take the a and its ASCII value and b and its ASCII value and return the sum of it, because we think that maybe in future we will need this. No, we'll not do this. Whatever you need right now, that is what we are going to add right now. That's it. Okay. So the idea again is that it may be very tempting to write functions or write not write test cases, write functions or write code which we think like might be helpful in future. Don't do that. Okay. The idea of Yagni is don't do that. If you don't need it right now, if it's not specified in your requirements right now, don't write it. If requirement changes, because since it's agile, requirement may change, then we'll write it, then we'll think about it. Next is communication and feedback. you know Agile, you need to be more communicative. Next, welfare. Okay, now welfare, uh, when I initially heard about it, this and the next part, that is courage, you will find it as a very odd concept. Okay, welfare, we need welfare of who, what, we need courage of what, courage for what, but welfare of the programmers. Okay, programmers are at the end of the day people, testers at the end of the day are people, requirement a business analyst at the end of the day are people. Okay, so the idea of extreme programming is that you need to make sure that everyone is well and healthy and in the state of writing code before just trying to shove tasks on them. And secondly is courage. Again, very odd concept, but it is the courage to speak up. Okay, it is the courage to make changes in your code as you receive feedback. It's the courage to receive feedback and work on it rather than starting to pass on the blame to others. Okay, so that is very important. And also understand that you may have to write code, you may spend writing a very beautiful function, and it is just the most optimal thing you ever wrote, and it took you 1 week and the requirements changed and you have to throw it away. You should have the courage to throw that away. And even though it may sound like, oh, I just have to delete it, when you come to that part you will not feel like deleting it. You will be like, oh, let's comment it, let it be there. You should have the courage to remove it if the requirements change. Okay, you should be confident about writing your code in a way that you have few bugs, and like as less bugs as possible. And again, you should have the courage to fix them if they arise. And the benefit of extreme programming is it increases collaboration. So these were the extensions of Agile. When we initially talked about certifications, there are a few more certifications that could help you. One is Prince 2. Now, this is for project management in general. Okay. And there's also the Six Sigma certification, again, with respect to project management. There is a very quick link here from Harvard Business Review about the Six Sigma excellence. Okay, I am not going to give you a spoiler about this, but I would highly encourage you to read about it. It's a very interesting read about. Okay, no spoilers. Sorry, but yeah. These are two certifications, and there are many more. So I have left a dot there. I have not written it down. That is something that you could come up with. Other certifications with respect to project management. One I told you is Prince 2, one is Six Sigma. Remember Yagni? This is the part where I also talk about Yagni. I'll give you a time to this part, the can you pass salt part of it. Okay. That is the Yagni part of it. And another fun thing about how to write good code, I'll give you a moment to read it. I can also share the link in the chat. So good code. Okay, hopefully you all have read it, which kind of brings me to the end of our today's session. Okay, first of all, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for listening to me to talking about project management. I hope you had a good takeaway from this session, and I hope you apply these ideas of managing your even smaller projects, your open source projects that you're building, your closed source projects that you're building, and define your work, define your tasks, do the requirement analysis thoroughly, do the design part of it, do the code testing part of it, share it with people, your friends, your family, the customers who are you building for. Share it with people, get their feedback, re-implement, basically use the ideas that you had here. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, uh, to give you a quick uh, idea of where you could use it, personally, from my opinion, personally from my experience, Waterfall goes very well with a hardware project. Okay, why? Because in hardware projects, or let's say IoT projects, you need to make sure the hardware is up and running before you move on to, let's say, the software aspect of it. Okay, the software aspect being, let's say, whatever you're integrating it with. So as in Waterfall, you first define what is going to happen, what should come in, what should be the next step, what should be the next step, and then you do the coding or implementation part of it, then you do the testing part of it, then you share it with people or the next team. So Waterfall works there well because there are not so many changes. You would not change the hardware. It's not like if you're building a heartbeat sensor, suddenly you decide that, okay, we are not going to build heartbeat sensor, we are going to build a gyroscope. Okay, or I don't know, something different. That's not something that is going to suddenly change all of at a certain time. So Waterfall goes well with a hardware project, and Agile goes well with a software project. Now that is again totally what I have observed and experienced. You may have a different experience. If you have something, do share it in the chat. I am looking forward to it. There is a comic here. Definitely read it out. Two more things that I would love to talk about. One is, again, it's not really associated with me, and that is not something that I have done, but I have had good recommendations about it. First is the Facebook or the Meta uh, RPM. Okay, that is rotational product managers. So that is kind of training where you work on three different projects as a product manager. And yeah, it's a job. Okay, but Yeah, do check it out. FBRPMS. I think very soon we'll have the 2023 uh what do you call, joiners. Yeah, 2023 joiners. So it opens and there is a deadline, and you talk about why you want to be a product manager and what do you want to achieve from it. And then there's the whole hiring phase for it, and then they train you to become a product manager. Another good course on Coursera is Google Project Manager course. Not affiliated with it, but some people have told me that it's really good, it's really helpful. So I am recommending it here if you are interested in learning more about project management part of things. So yeah, that is all from me. I am going to wait for now, next couple of minutes. If you have any questions, this is the time where you can ask about it. Ask me about the questions that you have. Ask me about anything that you want to understand again. Ask me about project management in general. I'll be happy to discuss. Okay, summarize the work of project manager. That is a good question. A project manager. So there's a question here. Can you summarize the work of project manager? Project manager. Let's go back to. I think there is a slide. Yeah. First, project management. Project management is managing a particular project, defining those tasks, having, let's say, sometimes project manager also acts as a scrum master, but defining those tasks, defining the goals, defining the expectations, setting up those expectations that we need to complete 70% of the project by end of the 3 months that we have. We are going to have these features rolling out, and we'll be talking to customers on weekly basis or daily basis or monthly basis, bi-weekly basis. They are the ones who are setting up a time frame, and they are the ones who are deciding what the final result will be at the end of whatever time frame they have decided. So that is something that is being done by the project manager. Hopefully that helps you. And finally, you can also check out the Google Project Management Professional Certificate. So, is it more like a team leader job? Uh, hmm. Let me think about it. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, can be or can be not. A project manager may have multiple teams. Okay, because let's say there's one team who's working on one part of the project. There's another team who's working on totally different. Think of the IoT project. Okay, one team who's working on the hardware side of things, one team who's working only on the software side of things. A project manager would define the ultimate goal once these two integrations are complete. Okay, that would be a work of a project manager. But a team leader would be leading the hardware team or leading the software team. Hopefully I have helped you understand the difference between team leader and project manager. Sometimes a project manager can be team leader if there's like only one team, or only the software team working under them. Then yeah, then they also are the team leader. As I said, they have multiple hats. They can be a just a project manager, they can be a team leader. That's a very nice point there. And they could also be a scrum master. They could lead your weekly calls, daily calls, talk about what is happening, what's not happening. Hopefully that helps. Oh, thank you so much. uh, any other questions from anyone? Okay, seems like none. Sorry, none. And thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining. And I hope to see you in my next stream. See you then. Bye bye. Does project manager, okay, there's a quick question here. Does project manager knows everything? Not really, not everything, but these are the people who have had significant experience. So they may have started as a developer, moved on to the managerial side of things, and then they became the project manager. Not everyone knows everything, definitely, but they are also very quick to learn. They are very quick to pick up things. So, and if they don't know something, definitely they could learn. So yeah, they know most parts of things. They may not know everything, but they are very quick to pick it up. If that helps you. Okay, that helps you. Nice. If no further questions, feel free to drop off. Again, it was really nice having you all. Love these questions, and I hope again you all enjoyed this. I hope to see you all in my next session, and bye bye for now.